And I think, unfortunately, as we get older, we lose our ability to remember what it's like to be a child. But we forget how much learning comes from being able to move and to being able to play. They're up, they're getting the wiggles out, the learning is sticking, they're putting a hand motion or an animal with a particular number. That's what's sticking. That is the learning piece, but they're having so much fun and they're enjoying it that they forget that this is math or this is learning. Educators get to watch, and then you start to be like, oh, hey, like, yeah, this is great. This is fun. Math is no longer like pulling teeth. They want to, they're excited. They want to know when we're doing math. Are we doing it again? Can we get the math out later? Can we try this? So, yeah, we really need to go back to making learning fun, enjoyable, and what works for the kids.
Hi, Shelby. Welcome to the Math and Movement podcast.
Good afternoon, Suzy. Thanks for having me.
Will you share a little bit about yourself?
My name is Shelby DeMitry. I am the building principal at Canaseraga Central School. My building is pre-K through 12. And we recently have joined on with Math and Movement, and we are loving everything about it.
That's great. I think we should share about how we met. That was at the SANES conference in the fall, and I
It
know
was.
I went in to listen to the keynote speaker, and I had the pleasure of sitting down next to you.
Yes, so it was the Sadie's conference. Yes, you came right in, you sat down with your energy and your enthusiasm for math, and we struck up a conversation at the end, and it led to attending a training most recently last week. And I really think we talk a lot. We email a lot, I should say. So that initial conversation that we had led to so many wonderful opportunities, not only for myself, but for my district, my teachers, and my students. So I'm very thankful that you sat down next to me at that conference.
And I'm glad I did too. Um, Shelby, tell me about the first thing that your school did. I know you've been doing quite a bit, but one of the things is that you're having some of your teachers pilot the Math and Movement curriculum. So why don't we start with that? Maybe just share like how you introduce this to your school. Did you have a meeting with your whole team of teachers? Did you just pick a couple of teachers to share?
Sure. So at the Sadie's conference, that is where you first shared with me that you had that curriculum, the kindergarten curriculum was about to come out. And you asked if I would be interested. And of course, I signed up immediately because who doesn't like to try, who doesn't love piloting math curriculum? So I came back and I said yes before I even talked to my kindergarten teacher about it. I knew she'd be all over it, and she absolutely is and was. Um, uh, I came back from that. You had shared with us the counting mat to 10, and that is where my kindergarten class started while we were waiting for the curriculum to be finished up and ready to be shared. So they started out with that, and that is where we saw the light or the little light bulb that we talk about with students. That's where it clicked. Um, my kindergarten teacher had a couple students that were struggling in this. So that conference was in October. I believe we had the map by the end of October, or even maybe towards the third week of October. And we immediately started working with the students and just the 10 mat. And we had a student that was struggling. He could get maybe one number out of 10. We rolled that mat out and it was on. It was game on for him. And it's still game on for him. The other students in the class, they're every time they see that mat come out, they before they even know what's happening, they're taking shoes off, they're getting ready to line up. So they are engaged, they love math, and they love everything that we have been doing. When the pilot came out, I think it was in January, we had met with you and some members of your team and a few other district leaders and teachers. We had a webinar and we went through all things, and you and your team explained what was going on and the items that we were going to be getting. I will share everything in this curriculum is what we need. My teachers can't wait for it to expand to other grade levels. What we've been currently doing with this pilot is every day my kindergarten teacher is rolling out a new lesson. She's prepared for it. We have the mats that we need. She's got it all laid out. The kids know exactly what they're doing. They know the protocol. They know what they're to be doing, how to do it, waiting, the positive affirmations that they're supposed to be saying, the cheering on of their friends, and their math knowledge is growing leaps and bounds a lot quicker than standard skill and drill.
So even though it's movement, and the kids are out of their seats, your teachers are still able to keep the class in control.
Absolutely. Yes. Yep. So my kindergarten teacher spent a lot of time front loading, I don't want to say commands.
Instructions, maybe,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
rules, the protocol of
Yeah.
how we move our bodies when we're out of our seats.
Exactly. A lot of time front loading that protocol, those regulations, and they handled it well because they love to move. Now they have a reason to move. They know they're not going to get in trouble as long as they're doing what they're supposed to. They know that they get to cheer each other on, and they love that part. They know that they can encourage, and they're occasionally allowed to get a little louder than they would be sitting at their seats, and that learning is sticking. So with the kindergarten pilot, in conversing with you, and every day my kindergarten teacher is providing feedback back to your staff, and she loves that. She loves there's immediate responses back, and that's been huge that she loves that. We're now taking that kindergarten curriculum, and my pre-K teacher is now looking at that curriculum and looking at ways to adjust for the pre-K level. As we know, there are different standards between pre-K and K, and she's really working with that to bring it down to her students' level and ability. And she's having a good time with that as well.
Excellent. I heard there was one student that was hiding under his desk, right? Can you tell me a little more about that student?
Yeah, yeah. So that is the student I referenced a few minutes ago. He had knowledge of basically one number from out of 1 through 10, and they just started clicking. He loves math. He didn't before. When made to sit in his seat and here's your worksheet and follow me along on the board, he was not engaged. You bring a mat out, you let him take his shoes off, he gets in line, he waits, he takes his turn, he is spot on. He is engaged the entire time that he is moving. So that kinesthetic learning is really working for him and is
Wow, that is so amazing. You know, I've been having a lot of conversation with educators who are talking about the behavior of students that are coming in at the kindergarten level, and it's just so different than years before. And now they can't sit still. There's behavior issues. Have you experienced that also?
We certainly have, yes. There's with the increased use of screen time at home or in outside factors outside of school, and that immediate gratification that they get from whatever it is they're watching or playing on tablets or phones or iPads or computers. They're expecting that same immediate gratification in kindergarten. And as we all know as educators, that doesn't that doesn't happen. This is that time to learn and share and learn to get along, and you're learning about community in and outside of school. And so yes, behaviors at the kindergarten level are definitely on an uptick. And that's been on, sad to say, but it's definitely on an increase. And it is something that we as educators need to really look at, ways to change up our regular instruction delivery, because that's not going to work here real soon.
So, but have you found though that the math and movement has helped that? Because we all know that these behaviors are because of the screens and also not playing outside.
Yep.
These behaviors can be really challenging. But it sounds like what you're saying is that because of the movement that's associated with math and movement, that it's really been supporting your students and your kindergarten teachers not having the behavior issues that she had at the beginning of the year. Is that
That
correct?
Yes, that is correct. I have in that kindergarten class, I don't have to worry about any behaviors during math. because they want to be on the mat, they want to be involved, they want to be the one throwing the beanbag, they want to be the one clapping and encouraging or counting, or the one whose turn it is, and see what their friends are going to throw for them to do. So, yeah, there's no behaviors during math. They're up, they're moving, they're getting their wiggles out. They love everything that is thrown at them. Not one thing has ever, there's no moans, there's no groaning. It's yay, and they're screaming and they can't wait. It's an entire switch from the beginning of the school year.
Oh, that's amazing. And that just makes me so happy because when I created this program, I mean, that's really the goal is that kids enjoy learning math, that they're engaged, they're enthusiastic about it. They see themselves as math people, like I can do math. And that's really uplifting. It develops their self-confidence. So that's just great to hear.
Yes, yes. We attended a training with Suzy at the Learning Room last week. I highly recommend the 2 day training. If you can go, please do. We had a great time. I took myself and four other teachers, and we really got to dive into all things math and movement. We got to explore all the other mats. We got to work with different children from different schools. So that was really a great experience. It challenged my teachers so my kindergarten teacher, for example, she doesn't work with fractions. She got to work with fractions last week. So that turned her math thinking in a different direction. And she really enjoyed that. So yeah, highly recommend any training that you can attend at the learning center with Suzy. It was a great time.
And, educators, I mean, someone may be teaching kindergarten this year, but you may need them to go into the fourth grade classroom next year. So it's important that all educators know all of the math concepts, that up
Correct.
through fifth grade, let's say.
Yep. And you are 100% right. Yes, they can move at any time.
So, what about other concepts? So, this is working really well for you at the kindergarten level. And so, you mentioned first grade teachers. I guess what I want to hear is the enthusiasm at that kindergarten level because of your kindergarten teacher, is that moving out throughout the school? Are there conversations about how we can switch things up and so forth? I'd love to hear about that.
Absolutely. So yes, so we obtained the counting by threes mat. We have a couple of those. So we currently have one with my one of my elementary special education teachers. We have one at the third grade. My first and second grade teachers are anxiously awaiting that curriculum to come out because they want to dive into that. They see the excitement in kindergarten, so they want to share that in their classrooms. But as far as the counting by threes mat that we have, or the skip counting by threes mat, I should say, my third grade teacher shared last week with me that she loves the mat. The kids love the mat. Um, they don't even, and she made the comment. She's like, they don't even they forget after they get past six that they're working on skip counting. She's like, they're counting. They have a little rhythm that they get into, and she's like, they love it. So she's like, I wish I had a mat in all of those. So I'm like, well, maybe one day we could do that. So definitely branching out as far as third grade. My special education elementary teacher, she's using it more for like a resource room time, or she's using it for RTI time with our students, and she works with kids kindergarten through third grade. So they're getting it sometimes double dose between the two classrooms. They don't care that they just did it maybe a half hour ago. They're excited to do it again because they enjoy it, and they forget that they're learning. They forget that this is just becoming part of them, and it's going to be with them, and it's going to stick, and they're going to have that movement to recall later when they need to call those skills or those facts back up. So they're anxious to get more. They have a
And,
list that's ever growing.
and that's different because when we think about kids like learning skip counting or multiplication and we're using a sit down approach, th- they're not excited to keep going. They're excited to go out for recess or go to lunch or anything other
Oh,
than sit there, right? But
correct.
what you're describing is kids doing the activities and just seeing it as a game, seeing
Yeah.
it like, oh, yeah, yay, we get to go out to recess. We're going to jump on this mat.
Yes. So the one thing I will tell you, I mean, and most of us as educators, We did the learn your facts, earn ice cream, learn your facts, earn a pizza party. Like we've done all kinds of things over the years as educators to get kids to learn their multiplication facts. Those those items, those things, they're not working with this new generation of students that are coming in. They're not motivated by getting an ice cream cone for knowing their threes or fours. Food's not the motivator, I guess, that it used to be. And a lot of us have shied away from using food, but sometimes you pull out those special ice cream social or ice cream Sunday things, and that's not working with this new generation of students that are coming in. So I think math and movement and the growth that you guys are experiencing at this time is perfect because it's engaging, it's getting those kids up, it's getting them out of the seat, it's getting them away from a piece of paper and a pencil. They are the math. They are the numbers. They are working while together, they're working independent at the same time. It's really hard to describe unless you have seen this in person, but it's just the smiles on their face. I mean, I don't know. We love it. We are very happy with math and movement and everything that it's providing our kids, and we just can't say enough good things about it.
The joy. I mean, that's what's really powerful about it is joyful learning. And I also think it's like thinking about how children learn and stepping into their shoes and doing activities that give them joy. I mean, adults sometimes have a hard time understanding because we don't think it's really like that much fun to jump on a mat.
Right,
Adults don't. They're like, why would anyone want to do that? But when you know children and understand how children think, I mean, we can see it because of how joyful they are, but
right.
I think we as decision makers, as educators and decision makers, have to think like a child when we're making decisions for children.
Yes, and I think unfortunately as we get older, uh, we lose our ability to remember what it's like to be a child, even
Right.
though we work with kids every day, because we have those deadlines, we have the curriculum we have to get through, we have the standards we have to make sure that we're addressing. But we
Right.
forget how much learning comes from being able to move and to being able to play and to do fun counting and whisper counting and all these animal motions that you get to do with the body movements. And they're up, they're getting the wiggles out, the learning is sticking, they're putting a hand motion or an animal with a particular number, and that's what's sticking. That is the learning piece, but they're having so much fun and they're enjoying it that they forget that this is math or this is learning. And educators get to watch, and then you start to be like, oh, hey, like, yeah, this is great. This is fun. Math is no longer like I'm pulling teeth. They want to, they're excited. They want to know when we're doing math. Are we doing it again? Can we get the mat out later? Can we try this? So yeah, we really need to go back to making making learning fun, enjoyable, and what works for the kids.
Right.
And
Right.
this is one of those things that works for kids. It's about kids, it's for kids, and the kids know that. You
Right.
get to be silly, but you also get to have fun. And you're learning your numbers. You're learning to skip count. You're learning all kinds of things. You're learning problem solving. You're learning to work with your community. You can build, SEL is built into it, and the culture responsive piece of that is built into it too. And there's equity, like there's so much that
Mhm.
they are exposed to, and it's great. I don't know. It's fun watching their faces. They're so fun to watch just because they are truly enjoying what they are learning.
And have you also seen results like, so we've been doing this for a number of years, and the results we have seen have been mind-blowing, like how quickly students can learn information. Have you noticed good results also?
We have. So keeping in mind that we're working at the kindergarten level with the curriculum at the moment, I know my third grade teacher and my special ed teacher with the skip counting by threes, they are seeing a much faster uptake of knowing those facts. With the kindergarten level, they are right on track where they are supposed to be for this part of the school year. And keeping in mind, we started with the kindergarten curriculum in January. So she's been moving right along with those kids. They're keeping up. I don't have test results in front of me, but I do know that she has been very happy with what they have been able to show on their tests that they are given. So she's very happy to see that. I mean, I'll tell you one of the things that she asked me to share was based on one of your questions is what would you tell a teacher who feels like they don't have time? It's worth the time. Take the time to make the time because it'll be worth your time. So she loves it. She makes time for it all the time. It's very user friendly, and the results that we are seeing, both physically and grade wise, are very reflective of where they need to be, where they should be, and they are ready to go to kindergarten or go to first grade. Sorry.
That's so amazing because we know that math is so cumulative. And so if in kindergarten they don't learn the concepts that they need to learn, then they're already behind in first grade. And then what ends up happening is the first grade teachers have to supplement what they're doing to get them up to speed to be able to do first grade work. And then if this goes on,
Domino
we'll get,
effect. Yeah.
yeah, we'll get students in third grade that are sometimes on kindergarten or first grade level. Here's another interesting point. I talked with a third grade teacher from Arkansas, and she said, it used to be that my students would come to me not knowing any of the multiplication facts, but they did know multiplication by twos, fives, and tens. She said now they come to me not even knowing multiplication by twos, fives, and tens. So she spends the year supplementing her curriculum with multiplication. But then she said something very interesting. She said, it's not that the third grade teachers are not spending the whole year working on multiplication. It's just that they're doing it sitting at a desk and sitting on a computer, and that information is not sticky. It's just not sinking into their brain.
Right.
So does that resonate with you in terms of what you've seen? Because I'm sure you use computers and so forth, but over the years, have you seen that idea happen with the more computer time, the less students know? I'm curious to know what you have seen.
Yes, so that has been seen here. That does happen. We have a lot of kids that struggle with the basic numeracy of addition and subtraction, knowing those facts, knowing what to do with those numbers, how to add one, how to take one away, all those things that they gather. Um, and then they get to third grade, and you start the beginning of the school year right off with multiplication. Well, you and I both know if you don't know your addition facts, you're really going to struggle with
Right.
the multiplication. So yes, we have definitely seen that here. I'm in New York State, um, and I'm sure other areas of the country are seeing that as well. And it's not for a lack of instruction
Right.
at the K1-2 level. It's the lack of the understanding and realizing skill and drill
Mhm.
is not working. If they're not getting it with a flashcard or they're not getting it with your instruction, how is a computer going to make that any better? And I have several teachers here that know that with the amount of screen time that kids have, they find themselves going back to less screen time, more me working with the student versus a computer. So yeah, it's alarming. I'm hoping that we'll see with the first, second grade curriculum that's coming out from math and movement, hopefully the fall or winter, that we'll be able to address those skills earlier and they have that solid foundation walking into third grade and they're able to just run with it.
Right, right, absolutely. Right, I think it's screen time, and I also think it's just the change. After school, kids are doing screens instead of playing outside. And the physical exercise that happens when you play outside makes a really big difference in the brain and
It
helping the
does.
brain to learn information and retain that information. So I
Yeah, I
think
would definitely agree.
really challenging for schools right now because there's just so much of a shift with so little physical exercise, that then that's coming in on the teachers and they've got to make a lot of progress, whereas the brains and the bodies are not quite ready to do that because they've not been playing outside and they've had too much screen. So I think that's another reason why it's just so important to get kids up and moving during math class.
Yes, I agree with you 100%.
So tell me, let's talk a little more about the PD that you just attended. What I love is that you, as the principal, came with your educators. I mean, that I think makes such a big difference in a school. I mean, I think schools could send one educator, they get excited, they go back, but there's something about coming, the principal and a team of teachers coming to a PD together that really makes a difference for the school. There's enough of you that can say, you know what, we've got to add more movement, and here's how we can do it.
Yes, I definitely felt that it was important that I attended with my teachers because I needed them to know how how much I believe in what we are doing, and I needed them to know that I'm on their side. I'm with them. We're going to go this way. We're going to pilot. We're going all in with kindergarten next year. We're looking forward to the next two grade levels. My third grade teacher can't wait for when it's her turn. I needed us to come as a united front. And if I could have, I would have brought more of my, would have brought more, a few more teachers with me. But I wanted them to know that you and I had a connection and we continue to talk and email and work together. And they know that, and they know that they can reach out to you if they have a question or any member of your staff, and they're going to get an answer. And I needed them. So obviously my kindergarten teacher had already been working with math and movement, and she was very familiar with how things were working. But they saw her excitement, and I wanted that excitement to be contagious, and I wanted them to catch that. And then I wanted them to see how much you love, like they could see your passion. And that was one of the things that we talked about after is this is Suzy, like this is her thing, this is her lifelong goal and her lifelong dream. And that is the one thing that they definitely picked up from that training is you are very passionate about what you do. We had a great time. We really had a great time. We learned a lot. It was nice to work with the other school districts that were there for training as well. A couple of them had made a couple connections, I believe, with some of the other teachers. And I always feel bad when teachers attend a training and there's not a member of admin with them. I know every time you can't send a member, but when there is time, you need to have that camaraderie with your staff, and you need to build that together. And I wanted them to know that this is something I'm passionate about. We've seen it in action, and we're going to continue to spread it throughout my elementary. So yeah, we had a great time. It was a lot of fun.
It really makes a difference when admin comes together with the teachers and then you're saying, how are we going to do this? And then you're all collaborating like, oh, we could do this. I'm curious, did anyone come up with the idea of training your high school students in movement-based learning strategies and have them partner? Like maybe you have like a K buddy program, or like a fifth grade buddy program. Um,
We
are
did
you?
not, but I do like that idea. I definitely like that idea. And actually, I'm going to write that down. We did not think of that, but I like that. So we'll write that down.
I had a school and it was similar to your school where it was K-12. And what the superintendent shared with me is that there was a high school student that was really struggling and struggling in lots of ways. And so they talked with her about during her study hall periods, going down to a younger classroom, like kindergarten classroom, and helping
Oh,
out and and using the kinesthetic materials, like like being the buddy and helping, or
oh,
maybe if it's in the hallway, like leading activities. And she did that, and it was a transformation for her. She just felt so proud of herself. She knew she was helping because she actually got to engage in the enthusiasm of the students who were doing the activities, and then that carried over to her. So, I think it's great for lots of kids, but in that particular situation, I heard that was a student who was struggling, and not all kids fit in a school environment as well as others. And so, if
Right.
there's something, that we can do to support those individuals, and in this case, that was what happened for this young lady.
Yeah, that's a really great idea. And I'm already thinking of a few kids that this would work well for. So thank you for that.
And then, right, and then what a great help for your teachers also.
Mm.
That they have another, that not really adult, but, older student, older responsible student coming and who can say, this is the activity and making sure that they're safe. And then along those lines, anytime you can do any type of buddy program, third grade students, when we're doing multiplication, we always have them check each other's work. So then that builds the community. Any type of buddy partnerships, middle school with third grade, for example. I also like it because sometimes these middle school students are not good enough with their facts. And so if we can say, oh, I need you to be the teacher, I want you to go down and teach, so we better practice. So then that gets them to learn and then they can go and teach.
So one of the things that my kindergarten teacher and I had talked, and it was based on one of the questions that you had shared, was about if every classroom used movement to teach math, what do you think would change? And we looked at it from the behavior lens, less behaviors because they're up, they're moving, they're getting the wiggles out, they're learning, it's sticking to them, they don't know it's sticking. Um, the scores are going to go up. The kids are enjoying this. Um, you're going to see the classroom dynamic change, and it's going to be quicker than you think. Like it's almost going to be instantaneous for the majority of your kids, and those kids that struggle. So our one little guy that was having numeracy problems. Um, he's shining. He is a star. He is right there. He's in line. He's got his shoes off. He's waiting for his turn. He doesn't hate math. He enjoys math. So we've been able to change his mindset and he's confident and in his ability where before he wasn't the kid that's going to raise his hand and count willingly by himself and now he will.
Wow,
um
amazing.
so it's huge, just those little things that add up to such big things in the end of the day at the end of the class. She just kept saying, you just have to tell them, they just have to try it, you just have to try it. You don't realize what you've needed until you had this experience.
So the positive response in math, has that created, has it spilled over into other subject areas in for the whole classroom environment, the culture
um
of the school?
Well, I can definitely say the culture of the classroom changed with the introduction of math and movement because there's that underlying community building that is taking place, the problem solving, that they have to, you have to wait your turn and you have to respect your friends and you're going to help your friends and they're going to wait and the patience and all of that that you're building in. So there's definitely a culture change in the classroom, and I'm looking forward to when they move to first grade in the fall to have them walk in with that solid foundation of having those numbers and those skills. They've worked immensely on adding one, taking one away, and adding like they're building on that, and they're using the mat and they're using bean bags and they're building they're making their bundles of 10. um so they're really connecting. Yes, the 10, I've put those 10 popsicle sticks. I know it's 10 because I can count to 10 and I know this is my bundle. So just taking all of that foundational knowledge and taking it to first grade and being able to start right from the get-go and not having those gaps that sometimes happen from kindergarten to first grade. I can definitely say these kids know their numbers walking into first grade.
Would you have been able to say that in previous years, like last year?
No,
Okay,
we had some kids that were struggling and they didn't know all of their numbers. They knew some, but they didn't know all. And
right.
I can definitely say these kids They got it down. They know what they're doing. They can teach the first grade teacher about their numbers.
Wow. That is just so amazing. Yeah,
We're so happy with this. We're very happy.
that is so, it's so amazing. All right, I just have one more question for you.
Sure.
Can
Yeah.
you finish this sentence? Students learn math best when.
They are up and moving. When
Okay.
when they are applying kinesthetic learning and those cross body movements and the numbers and the whisper and the getting loud and the quiet and they got it. That's when they're learning.
Well, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. This has just been a great conversation. I've loved it. I love your enthusiasm. I love your openness. You're willing to try new things. You're making a huge difference in your school.
Well, thank you for all of your support. You make it easy. And like I said, we can't speak enough about math and movement here.
Good.
And we have loved everything that we have tried and experimented with, and all of your suggestions and your team. It has really made this venture amazing.
That makes me so happy. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Math and Movement podcast. And a special thank you to the amazing educators around the world, making learning come alive every day. The views and opinions expressed in today's episode are those of the individuals who shared them. For books, resources, and upcoming events, visit mathandmovement.com. Keep moving, keep learning, and we'll see you next time.